This meeting is being recorded.
Hello to everyone and welcome to today's Catalyst Center virtual event. My name is Tanner Swift and I'll be your host for today's session. I'm excited to introduce some incredible speakers for you today, but before I hand the mic over to our presenters, we do have a few housekeeping items to cover about this presentation. Today's virtual event will be recorded and made available on demand after the live session, and the playback will also be available on YouTube for rewatch as well. We will provide you with some further details at the end of today's event. Also, we'd love to hear from you during today's presentation. During the session, if you have any questions for our presenters, you can submit them via the Q&A panel here on WebEx, where we will answer your questions live or during the Q&A portion of today's event. You'll also see a QR code available on your screen later in today's session, as we will also have a Cisco Press discount code for all of our attendees today. So without further ado, I would like to welcome our speakers for you today, Julio Guerrero and Casey Hamilton, who are excited to discuss how to upgrade Catalyst Center and what's new in Catalyst Center 2.3.7. We'll kick things off by first sending it over to Julio. Julio, right over to you.
Hey, hello everyone, and thanks for joining us on today's session on how to upgrade your Catalyst Center and the new features on Catalyst Center 2.3.7. If you want to ask some questions, we will have a panelist where you can use a Q&A option on your WebEx, and there we will be answering you any questions you have, okay? So let's get started. On today's session, you will be able to master the Catalyst Center upgrades, right? You will gain practical knowledge on how to execute the upgrades with the Catalyst Center platform. You will be able to do the upgrade best practices to adhere to the recommended procedures for successful and efficient Catalyst Center upgrades. You will also learn how to use the readiness tool called Aura, so you can assess and confirm your environment is ready for these Catalyst Center upgrades. Then you also will understand the upgrade paths. It's going to be different ways for you to upgrade if you are in an earlier version to the latest or recommended version. And finally, you will explore the new features of 2.3.7 software that we have released for our Catalyst Center. You will discover and understand the innovative features and enhancements we have introduced in the latest version. First, we will have a poll. We would like to know about more about your environment. We would like to know what version of Catalyst Center you are running, if you are in 2.2x or below, 2.3.2 to 2.3.4, 2.3.5 or 6, or 2.3.7, or you don't have any Catalyst Center installed. Will be nice to know, okay? Let's go over the agenda. First of all, we will do the Upgrade Center Catalyst Center review, all the requirements, pre-requirements, the planning, preparing for the upgrade, and everything that it's needed. And then we will explore the features of NetOps, AOps, SecOps, and DevOps that have been developed on the Catalyst Center 2.3.7. Now, why the upgrade matters? You will be having a better performance of your network platform for management, right? This Catalyst Center new version will incorporate valuable user feedback that results in a more robust and efficient Catalyst Center experience. You will have enhanced security, so we'll stay ahead of any cyber threat with your continuous security updates on the Catalyst Center, upgrades on your managed devices you can manage from it, and has the latest patches for defenses against any vulnerability as a platform, right? You will have improved reliability, experience smoother and more reliable network operations that will help you plan and deploy new devices on your network, manage the one that you have in there, have them up to date, and have them ready. Then you will unlock all these new features and capabilities. You will gain access to the latest features and functionalities, such as AI enhancing RRM, all the integration with ThousandX, Cisco Spaces, and WebEx, enhanced 3D wireless maps, and the EOX report for end-of-life support of your managed devices. You will have guarantee support if you go to the latest versions. Remember, some versions have been end of support this day, so you will receive ongoing support and assistance from Cisco TAC on all these latest recommended versions. Now, what are the upgrade prerequisites? So these are the steps that are necessary for you to complete the Catalyst Center upgrade. You will start to having a Cisco.com valid account, so you can download the software. You need to add it on your Catalyst Center, and from there you will be able to download. Have a valid smart care contract for support. Have a super admin role that give you all the permissions required to do the upgrade. And check if you're doing a cluster upgrade, go to the upstate on the interface connected to your network, confirm the connectivity to all the upgrade resources URLs, and have a minimum disk space requirement, right? Then for the 3-node cluster, you need to upgrade all of these nodes that you have in there. As upgrade best practices, let's start on what you need. First, you need to plan and prepare. You will define your target release by reviewing also the release nodes. You will review the hardware compatibility on our compatibility metrics. You can review that as well. If there is any upgrade needed for the host upgrade utility, you can use it, and review the NIC bonding if you are using high availability to connect your Catalyst Center. Then you validate and assess when you're checking the compatibility metrics for your software devices. You will need to perform as well a backup for your Catalyst Center. That's very important, and we will show you a little bit on that. Run the Aura tool or the upgrade validation set to make sure all the resources are okay for you to perform the upgrade. And engage support, right? You will open a proactive tag case, schedule a maintenance window, have everything ready, and then perform the upgrade, verify the functionality, and complete all these post-upgrade tasks. So let's talk about the Catalyst Center database backups. It's very important and highly recommended for you to perform the backup of your data that you have in there. There are going to be two options that you have: the backup for the automation and assurance, right? The automation data only will back up only the Catalyst Center database, credentials, file systems, and so on. This kind of full backup. And all the automation and assurance data that you have been collecting can be backup as well. So the first initial assurance backup is full, and then will be incremental. For the backup process, you will need to create a backup server. You need to configure that. In the next slide, we'll review that about the setting up the backup servers. Designate that, and this is a little bit on the recommended storage sizes that we do provide for the Catalyst Center, right? In case you are using an ESXi Catalyst Center, you can create a new partition so you can have your backups made on your virtualized environment. Now, let's take a look on the backup servers. You can add the server for automation and assurance, right? So the remote server requirements, as you can see, for automation, it requires an external Linux-based server for storing backups. The server requirements, you will need to open ports for SSH, SFTP, and everything must be enabled to the function of the server, right? For now, there's only Linux being supported as backup server, no Windows support yet. And for the NFS server requirements for assurance, NFS support should support NFS version 4 or 3 protocols. The permissions you will require for reading write access to the NFS export directory, and have a good network stability, right? Because we will be sending a lot of data to your server. So we will require a stable and fast network connection between the Catalyst server and your NFS server. This is our latest Catalyst Center upgrade path. As you can see, if you are on one of these earlier versions from 1.3 to 2.2.2, they have been put on out of support. The last day of support for the latest 2.2.2 was announced on December 14th last year. So we should recommend to be at least on one of these versions. If you can go to the latest recommended version that we have certified a few months ago, 2.3.5.6 is the latest recommended release, and 2.3.7.7 is the latest, right? Remember that we have a really good features on these latest releases, such as the support for AWS and ESXi and so on. So this is the path that you can follow. Let's take an example. If you need to upgrade from 2.2.2, you can jump to 2.3.3.7, go to 2.3.5.6, and if possible, go to the latest in case you need any new feature that has been added on our latest code. Let's talk about the Aura tool. The Aura Audit and Upgrade Readiness Analyzer. It's an automated tool that checks the Catalyst Center and all the fabric health. It will help you to have the upgrade readiness to identify the potential upgrade issues and generate for you an easy-to-read report. We'll do a lot of checks, perform the health, scale, upgrade readiness checks, and we'll assess the impact, right? There's no impact, it's not intrusive. It uses some API to pull all the data and show commands from your device in Catalyst Center. So you can be aware of everything that it's here for the scale, infra assurance, all the wildland controller assurance, health, any software bugs that may cause any issues. and will let you know if your upgrade ready. So also for SD access, will give you a lot of checks for compatibility checks between the switches, wildland controllers, and ICE, and the fabric device configurations, control and audit for security. Here's a link that you can review on how to use the Aura tool on GitHub. And depends on which versions you are running, you will be able to run locally Aura. We recommend to follow the next steps. First, you clone the repository from GitHub, including this exec file from git clone and this URL, the clone direct. You will be able to set the permissions if you have a proxy here, and then make sure that the DNA Aura directory is executable by doing the chmod for the DNAG Aura executable file. So you will be able to go on the CLI and then run these commands. Make sure that this completed for you. When you finish, it will let you know that this has been successfully completed, and you will be able to pull the report from that directory as well. Now, remember, if you are on one of the latest versions, you should need to enable the shell, right? So from 23x, you will need to enable shell to run these commands. But we have been working on kind of replacement from Aura on these latest releases. As you can see, we have the validation tool. It's going to move everything from Aura with all the checks into the validation tool. You can navigate to system, system health, and then tools. Then you will have the validation tool on the top right. And there's going to be the validation run for upgrade validation set. You can see all the checks that we have. We have added some more on 235 and 237. So I think this should be also enough in case you don't want to go to the Aura and get the shell open and then execute the commands for Aura. You should be going through the validation tool to get your upgrade readiness assessment, okay? Now, how we will be performing the upgrade, there should be two options. Whenever you have your standard installations, you have your data center, either you through your enterprise or management network, you can reach the internet, or you have the cloud interface connected to get direct downloads from our cloud to the data center. You will be doing the online upgrade. So this will be performed by the data center GUI. It will require the internet connectivity and the URLs open to do the full upgrade of the software and the apps and everything that is needed for you to get into the latest release. Or you can go through the offline air gap upgrade. It will require you to get assistance from TAC, so you will need to open a TAC case. It's the only option for appliances that are isolated from the internet. So, air gapping is the security measures that will isolate the system from external networks, including the internet, and it will give you extra protections for cyber threats. So the two options that we have, if we go for the first one for online upgrade, if you are in a prior releases, you will be able to see a banner if you go to the software upgrades on your Catalyst Center, telling the new latest release is here for this specific version you are moving from, right? So an example, we are coming from a 2234. You can see we can see that there is a latest 2334 for them. You will be able to switch these options. Whenever you switch now, you can get into a different release, higher maybe. And depending on the path that you're coming from, you need to review if it's going through the correct path, and you can do the system updates, right? With this, you will update your Catalyst Center. On releases 2.2x and prior, you will also have the same. From setting software updates, you will be able to do the upgrade for the system first, and then do the application updates whenever you download them all. You will be able to install them and then have your system fully ready. The workflow changed a little bit on the latest release. You can see that you can log into the Catalyst Center, go same to 2.3 X releases and system software management, and then you will be able to download the software, prepare for download. As you can see, make sure that this is available, and then install now. You will see that there are some other available installations, so you can switch from here in maybe 2355 or go to 2353, depending on your needs. Finally, you will need to update all the available applications. After you click on install now, in the next slide, you will see that your system will come under maintenance. You won't be able to access the GUI. It will not be disruptive for your network because it's only the management platform that we will be upgrading. And then you will be able to install all the apps that you need after going to the latest releases. We recommend to install all the ones that you need, and then your system will be ready for use. There are a couple of post-upgrade checklists, such as the device management. Verify that all your devices are managed and reachable from this Catalyst Center. Review a little bit on the configuration and integrations. Make sure that all these configurations have been applied and your integrations are up with your eyes and so on. And then review the system health, right? If it's possible, we run the Aura tool or the validation tool and make sure that everything is good, and also perform a new backup of your Catalyst Center configuration as this is completed, just to make sure you have the latest backup. Okay. Okay, now I will hand off to Casey. We will have a quick demo about performing the upgrade and the backup servers.
All right, thank you, Julio. Hello, everybody. Let me share my screen. All right, I'm going to walk you through the upgrade, how to do a backup, and also how to do an upgrade of Catalyst Center. So here I'm in DNA Center. Once we upgrade to 237, it's going to be changed to Catalyst Center. You can see I'm running 2.3.3.7 right here, and these are my application packages. The first thing we'll want to do is we'll want to check our backups. We need to make sure a backup's created because we don't want to lose any of our data. And there's two different kinds of backups you can do. Now, going to System, Backup, and Restore, you can see that I already have some backups. However, to configure a backup, you'll need to set up either a remote host or an NFS. It depends on how you want to back up the data. Now, to create a backup, you'll click Create Backup, give it a name, and you'll see the scope. You can also schedule it for now, later, weekly if you want to. And also you can upgrade all data, or you can upgrade or do a backup without backing up the assurance data. So what I mean by that is if you're only using Catalyst Center for automation, for SDA, and you're not really using assurance, which has a lot more data, you may just want to do the backup without the assurance data. However, if you want to back up the assurance data as well, you can absolutely do that too. Now, the next thing you'd want to do before doing a backup is to check the system health of Catalyst Center. And this is done by going to System Health Validation Tool. We'll give it a name. And what it's going to do is it's going to check the services. It's going to check a whole bunch of stuff, make sure there's reachability, make sure there's not any issues, make sure there's enough space for doing this upgrade. And then it's going to perform the check. Once it does that, you can click View Details, and you can see here it's already flagging different stuff. We have something that's flagged as critical here. It says check Diag Center service logs. This may be something that I might need to go into maglev and troubleshoot a little bit further. Make sure if you're going into maglev, you may require shell access. It's a good idea to get in touch with TAC if you are going to go into maglev and do some more in-depth kind of troubleshooting before you do the upgrade. So that's how to do the validation tool. Next up, we'll go ahead and actually do the upgrade itself. And actually, before we do that, this is the report that's generated from the validation tool. And it's very similar to the Aura report. It's going to show you, the critical status of all the checks that it's done, whether it's critical info or anything like that. And once everything checks out, once everything looks healthy and ready for the upgrade, you'll go to system and you'll go to software upgrade, and it may take a little bit because what it's doing right now, it's loading available releases. It's reaching out to software.cisco.com to check these releases, and then it will go ahead and here what I'm expecting it to do. It's going to load 2.3.5. We're going to cover upgrade paths later in this presentation. But right now I'm on 2.3.3.7. The upgrade path, the correct upgrade path to that is 2.3.5.3. As you can see here, once I'm at 2.3.5.3, I can upgrade to 2.3.7. And what we'll do, we'll go ahead and look at the information. It gives you a little bit of an overview based on your persona. So SecOps, NetOps, AIOps, and then you can click install now once you've reviewed what it's going to upgrade to. Also, you have your available applications at the bottom. When you upgrade the Catalyst Center installation, it has a bunch of packages that comes along with it, such as SDA, Assurance, AI Analytics, Machine Reasoning, Path Trace, etc. These are the application packages. After you perform an upgrade, make sure that you update those packages to make sure that it's compatible with the new version. Things that are in these application packages also include feature enhancements, additional features, but they also include bug fixes as well. So good to make sure you have those after. Once you're done, you can go to System 360 and it's going to show in software management that it has upgraded successfully. And with that, Julio, I'll go ahead and hand it back off to you.
Thanks, Casey. Nice demo. And just to add here, we're using the demo from a previous version because most of you may be on this range of versions. And it should be the same workflow for you to upgrade, going the steps that Casey has showed today, okay? Thank you. Just let me share my screen. Let me know if you can see my presentation back again. So let's just start about the new features for the different personas that are working with the Catalyst Center. We will start by moving with the network operation features. First features that you have seen on the latest version is the third-party device support for MIB2. You know that managing networks with different type of devices will be challenging. Catalyst Center now offers the solutions for this. You can add now non-Cisco devices to your Catalyst Centers as long as they support the industry standard SNMP MIB2. And will give you a much cleaner picture of your entire network, right? So there's an important note in here. You will be able to do discovery, inventory support, the device uptime, limited visibility for this device topology, the interface up, status, and down, and the name of the vendor, if it's HP, and so on. You will have a limited device 360 view, not as you have on your Cisco devices, and will have the visibility only there, not supported for support from TAC. So you need to make sure you can see in the example here, you will see a different kind of device in the bottom of Palo Alto having discovered and added that this is the device 360 is kind of limit, but you will have enough information about the device, the ports that are up, and the status of it, okay? By including these non-Cisco devices, Catalyst Center will simplify your network management. So it'll give you more tasks to do this overall network management. Now, the second feature that we have in here is the visibility and control. This feature will provide a solution for 4G secure plan network. It's you can enable that on your Catalyst Center settings. And with this, will help you to have a visualization and confirmation of these any configuration changes that you are applying to your devices via CLI. When you enable it, it will generate a configuration preview that will push all the new settings into your Catalyst Center devices, but you will be able to see a side-by-side comparison when you have your running configuration, new configuration, and it's going to be added, and you will be able to review what is going to be pushed to your network devices. It can also be integrated with your ServiceNow for ITSM for approvals before deploying any changes on your network. So it's a very useful tool. You can also disable for ease of time whenever you know already what you're going to be pushing and the new configurations, you can disable. But we do recommend to use it. It's a very handy feature on this latest release. Then we have the Catalyst Center 9800 wireline controller basic onboarding template support. Previous to 237, it was not supported. This capability will allow you to add the templates into your wireline controllers and will mitigate the risk of configuration conflicts, right? So you will be able to do real-time conflict warnings whenever something is not matching with the checks for potential conflicts on your targeting 9800 devices, and it will provide feedback to you so you can address anything before you apply the changes. They will also have some intent warnings during the plug-and-play discovery process and the claim process. Catalyst Center will analyze the template and generates warnings with these potential conflicts for your network. It's only supported for Catalyst Center 9800 wireless NAT controllers. So as well, it's going to be very useful. You will see whenever you add these devices, you will have a 9800 template, and you will be able to assign it and deploy whenever it's the time for apply this configuration to your wireless LAN controllers. For ABC and QoS auto enablement, we have simplified the setup for ABC and QoS on your wired devices on Catalyst Center. So when you are onboarding your Catalyst 9K switches, for example, and assigning it to your sites, all these features that we have mentioned, they will be automatically activated. You can see in here, application visibility is enabled whenever you are assigning a device to site, and it will be pushing the configuration. We'll also apply the QoS setup. Previously, this has to be involved in several steps, but now it's a well-streamlined process. Whenever you assign your Catalyst 9Ks into your network, it will be able to improve the user experience and makes enabling application data policies more efficient. Then we have the netconf during plug and play and day zero discovery for your devices. When enabled in netconf, you will be able to do this for greenfield devices, and it will simplify that. It will add the configuration needed for you to have netconf enabled on your newly added devices. And during the claim process, netconf and AAA configurations will be automatically applied to your network devices on a day zero. You can also review this configuration that are generated by our configuration preview and make sure that it's good for you. And by streamlining this process, improves the overall efficiency and data collection for your network infrastructure. Now, remember, day zero for netconf support is currently only available for switching platforms. Now let's talk about AOps. For all the monitoring of your network, we have added the event analytics preview dashboard. So this dashboard has been improved lately. Now it replaces the traditional chronological event list that you have more inside a view of your events that happen in there. So we'll be able to categorize and display all the syslog messages based on severity level. You can see the different type of messages that you have been getting. Track the transitions in event reachability for both wired and wireless networks, and will help you to empower your network admins with these AI-driven insights for most critical events, enabling you to identify the peak event occurrence times, to prioritize high-severity events, and understand the most common or least common event types, right? Some key considerations: this event analytics requires the AI analytic feature to be enabled, that the Catalyst Advantage license to access this feature, and you will be able to find it under Assurance, which is an event analytics preview, where you can see what events are happening the most, what are the highest priority of these events, what event types are the most common or the least common, as we mentioned. So it's a very useful dashboard that will be keeping your events up to 60 days, okay? Now, for third-party device support for Assurance, Catalyst Center Wireless Assurance, it will extend a little bit the monitoring and troubleshooting capabilities for these third-party devices. You will be able to monitor and troubleshoot these devices with a limit device 360 view, but you will also have now the Assurance Health dashboards available for those, right, to make sure the devices are good or not. So by default, these third-party devices will be categorized under the core device family. You know, we have different type of devices: core, distribution, access, our controllers, and access points. So this will be the category that will be falling on, and all the issues related to these devices can be easily viewed and addressed from the issue and settings dashboard. Let's talk about SecOps now. For SecOps, we have improved the SD Access user interface 2.0. You can switch it back from here if you want to see the latest. It's going to be like this. It integrates simplicity, flexibility, and rich intuitive context. So there's going to be a virtual network view that will simplify the way you be able to deploy your fabric. and all the dependencies that we'll have in there, right? It will help you to correlate your virtual network with the associated components such as HTTPs, IP pools, and subnet. You will have dedicated configuration pages that are available for the fabric side, virtual network, transits, and both overview tables for this efficient navigation. And the fabric side overview, there we have done some enhancements. It will be providing you some valuable tips, insights, and progress updates on your workflows that we will be using for SD Access. So it's also a very good way for you to manage your fabric with this SD Access updated interface. We also have improved the LAN automation enhancements. On this code 237, you will be able to trigger simultaneous LAN automation tasks, right? It will allow you to initiate up to 5 concurrent LAN automation sessions for each site. You cannot run on the same site. And it will help you to accelerate the deployment of fully automated route access underlay networks by enabling this zero-touch onboarding, and the PNP-ready switches will help you to do this across multiple locations simultaneously. So it's a dedicated page that will simplify the workflow. You can start multiple LAN automations from here, and it will be only supported per site, as we mentioned. And it will each session requires distinct seat devices and dedicated IP LAN pools, okay? We also have added the SD Access compatibility check. Will be able to help you to review what devices are fully enabled to go into your SD Access fabric. It will do some automated compatibility check. It will automatically download the compatibility matrix from the environments, either for air gap environments, you will need to upload them manually, but it will help you with this compatibility matrix being added into your Catalyst Center to check that everything is good, depending on the fabric roles that you will be using for each device. It's a control plane, a transit control plane, border edge node extended, or a wireless LAN controller only. It will help you to prevent potential operational issues and ensure a smooth and reliable fabric operation. Finally, for DevOps, we have added a lot of new and enhanced APIs. Some areas that you will be able to see is the compliance, configuration archive, device onboarding, PNP, but most of the latest ones that you will be able to get, maybe for the interface stats for your devices. For the sites, you can get the grab of the list of sites, the devices that are assigned to sites. For compliance, make sure they get the configuration task details, commit device configuration. And for the LAN automation API, you can check how to start and stop these LAN automation on your devices and get the LAN automation done on your network. Finally, we have a second poll for you. We would like to know about your most used features. If you are using PNP, SD Access, you're working with the assurance, APIs, or none of the above, we'd like to know. Okay, so let me hand it up to Casey to do the demo on Catalyst Center 237 new features.
All right, thanks, Julio. Let me share my screen. And I'm going to cover the features in just a second. First thing I wanted to show you was software.cisco.com. This is where you can learn more about the software available for you. You can see the suggested release currently is 2.3.5.6. If you're running an ESXi appliance, that version is going to be 2.3.7. You'll also notice that 2.3.7.7 is available. This just, I believe it became available on November 20th. So you'll be able to use that. This is for virtual appliance right here. However, if you wanted non-virtual, it is also available. So if you're running a physical appliance, 2.3.7.6 is here, and 2.3.7.7 is there. 2.3.7.7, the main additions there are a bunch of bug fixes. So just wanted to keep you aware of that. The bug fixes that are included, if I were to go here, I can see that these bug fixes are included in the 2.3.3.7 release. Now I'm going to go over to Catalyst Center. And you can see I'm at version 2.3.7.5. Again, recommended version is 2.3.7.6. That's what you'll be upgraded to. And you can see the name has changed to Catalyst Center here. First thing I want to do is go to policy. application QoS and show you that if I have QoS policies configured here and they are assigned to a site, and I click deploy by default on wired devices, what that's going to do is when I provision or when I assign a network device to a site via PMP or manually, what'll happen is QoS will be deployed based on what I configure for my queuing profiles, my application policies. They'll be configured on those devices that reside on those wired devices that reside within that site. So leave that checked. Next thing is I'm going to go to System, Settings, Visibility and Control of Configurations. So you can see that configuration preview is currently checked. I can turn it off if I want to, but this is a new feature. If I enable this, what it's going to do is when I go and provision configuration to a device and assign it to a site, etc., what that does is it deploys a lot of configuration to that network device. Good practice is to review the difference of what your current config looks like and then what it's going to look like thereafter once it's deployed. And that's what configuration preview does. It does a check on that. We also have ITSM approval. This is grayed out. I can't currently toggle this because I don't have ITSM integrated at this time. We do have content available on teaching you how to do ITSM integration for things such as ServiceNow. What this does is it does a ticketing system for, let's say I wanted to do a provision. I wanted to push configuration out to a device. What Catalyst Center will then do at that point, if I have this toggled and an ITSM is integrated, is going to open a ticket. It's going to contact, let's say, for example, ServiceNow, open a ticket, and within that ticket, it's going to show the configuration that it's going to push. And then all that's needed is to review that and then either approve or reject that ticket. If rejected, then it will show under tasks that it has been rejected. If I go to activities, tasks here, it'll show the ticket has been rejected. If it's approved, it'll go ahead and approve, and it'll do the implementation at the specified scheduled time. Next step is to go to provision, and then I'll go to inventory. And I'll select a wired device. So go border, actions, provision device. Click next. I'm going to go through the workflow. And here's a summary of the configuration that's going to be pushed to that device. And I'll click next one more time. You can see that because I had generate configuration preview toggled, it's not letting me select now or later. If I wanted these to be an option, I could toggle that off back in system settings. But for this instance, I'm going to click Generate Configuration Preview and click Apply. It's going to do some checks. Click Next. And we'll give it just a second. It's performing a bunch of different checks. Almost done. And again, these checks are going to be sent over to ServiceNow if you have ITSM integrated. But configuration to be deployed. This over to the right is its current running configuration. So you can see what's there. This on the left is what's going to be deployed over to that device. I can actually search configuration and do, like, let's say device tracking, device tracking. And we can see that device tracking is going to be added here into the configuration. Now, once I'm ready, I can click deploy. If ITSM is integrated, deploy is going to be grayed out here. It's not going to be able to be deployed. It's going to say send to your ITSM solution, which will then be approved, and then it'll go at the scheduled time. Okay. So that is it for the Generate Configuration Preview. Next thing I want to look at is our template. So you'll see template hub. It used to be template editor. It's right here. If I click this, what it's going to do is it's moved. If I click design and I go to CLI templates, this is the new name for it. This is what it's called. And the reason for this is we wanted to move it closer to network profiles, because CLI templates and network profiles, as you'll see in just a second, are very much aligned together. Without one or the other, they won't work. And there's been a few updates to how this template editor works. One being, I'm going to click on here, the 9800 network profile. And this is just a simple configuration right here. One main difference is attached to network profiles. This wasn't there before. This is to help you with steps and make it more fluid in your implementation. And you can, instead of just going to network profiles, you can come here and then just assign to a network profile, as we have here. You can see I've assigned it to all of my sites. You can assign it to a specific site. It's attached as a day end template. Wireless profile is the name. Now I'm going to go to network profiles and show you that profile. So network profiles, and we have our wireless profile here. It's assigned to 13 sites. So I'm going to click edit. And here we have a bunch of configuration we can do. We can create SSIDs, assign them to the network profile. And what this is going to do is when I deploy or provision my 9800 wireless controller, it's going to assign all this configuration over to it, which will then enable the APs to broadcast those SSIDs based on my constraints, and the clients will be able to authenticate onto the wireless network accordingly. But there's various stuff you can do here: model configs, templates, AP zones, advanced settings. For the purposes of this, I'm just going to click templates, and I'm going to show you that we have our templates assigned right here, the 9800. One key thing, when you're creating templates, make sure that they are assigned to the correct device family type. If they're not, it's not going to show up during provision. So for instance, if I was provisioning a 9800 controller, I need to make sure it's under that family. Likewise, say I was provisioning a 9300 controller, it need to be configured for that. The other key important factor is site. So it needs to be in the site that you are going to provision that device to. In this case, I do have it assigned to the site that I'm going to provision it to. You can get very specific with this, and then I'll go ahead and click save. Now, the next thing, I'll go back to provision inventory, and we'll provision that 9800 controller, which you can see right here. I'm going to click that, click actions, provision device, and we can see I'm going to assign it to site 1, click save, and then I'm going to click next. I'm going to go through the configuration. Basically what this is you're assigning like rolling AP upgrades. If it's an anchor, you're managing the primary AP locations here. I'm going to click next. And then I'm going to go to advanced configuration. If everything was set up with the templates, it's assigned to the correct device family, it's assigned to the correct site, the template will show up here. There's no variables in the templates that I created, but what it's going to do is deploy HTTPS access over to the wireless controller. I'm going to click next, and then we have our summary, and has a summary of what will be deployed. You can look a lot further into this and see what will be deployed, and then click next, in which case we'll click generate configuration preview, click apply, next, and it's going to run through that configuration preview. And this is why we do configuration preview, because as you can see, it just detected an error. This is an error that we need to be aware of before we do a provision, and we can see specifically what's happening. Netconf is not working correctly. So potentially netconf wasn't configured correctly when the device was discovered. If I go back over to provision inventory, I can see right here, missing netconf port right here. And then what I can do is I can rediscover this device and edit the netconf port. Most likely it's going to be on 830, and then go from there. Okay. So the next thing is we'll go over to software-defined access, fabric sites. I want to show you actually, before we do this, let me go over to system settings. Compatibility. This is a new feature as well. It's the SD Access Compatibility Matrix. What this does is make sure that any device in your, it shows you compatible devices with SDA and any device that will not be compatible with it. So hardware limitations, software limitations based on the Catalyst Center version that it's currently on. And as you can see, this is constantly being updated securely. It uses a hash for this. You just toggle this to make sure it's in sync. If you are running an air gap deployment, you can import new from local. So you would need to download it from Cisco, and then you can access it here and then upload it locally in an air gap deployment. But you can also import latest straight from Cisco and it'll fetch it from Cisco servers. Okay. Now, next thing is SD access. We can go back to Fabric Sites, and we can see the new SDA UI here. This is the old, you can go back to the old one. You just click this at the right-hand side. It'll bring you over to the old SDA. You may be very familiar with this if you're running SDA. And it's very simple, and you can create your transits, virtual networks that way. However, there's a new SDA UI. It's a lot more intuitive, and what it does is it allows analytics. It gives you a lot more analytics, such as task deploy, tasks in progress, errors, all this kind of stuff as you're deploying your fabric. But it also gives you a bunch of workflows that you can follow. It makes it very seamless, very easy to do. So you can create a fabric site, you can configure multicast, through a step-by-step workflow, click let's do it, and then it'll go ahead and walk you through how to do that. We have more content on SDA, so definitely reach out to your account manager if you want to implement an overlay on top of your network and do SDA. So we have our fabric sites, and you can get a lot more detail here. So I'm clicking into the fabric sites, and then virtual networks. I can configure my Anycast gateways. It'll actually, I can go through workflows here, such as create Anycast gateway, create extranet policy. It gives me a detailed overview of my virtual networks, my layer 2 networks, my Anycast gateways, all here. Now, it seems like a lot, and that's what the workflows are for. It's going to help you ensure that you have that successful implementation as it's doing it. All right, next is the APIs. So I'm going to go over to Platform, Manage, and Configurations. Oh, sorry, Platform Developer Toolkit, not Manage. Platform Developer Toolkit, APIs. And we're going to look at the APIs. As Julio was discussing, APIs are getting updated to a version 2. This is to ensure that as you develop applications that work with Catalyst Center, that they are backwards compatible, that your applications won't break as Catalyst Center upgrades. That's the goal through Cisco First APIs. So they are being upgraded right now. And if I were to, let's say there's a lot of APIs, but if I were to filter down, I want to find one that's relevant to a site. I could go to get site count. You can see it's version 2. So this one has been upgraded. I'll click it to get a little bit more information. I can use things like Postman to do a GET request over to this URL, and I can include these parameters. You can see this parameter is not required. Always a good best practice to read the API guide to make sure you understand if any parameters are required. But in this instance, I could use Postman. I could generate code to do this, and it'll send an API call to get the site count from Catalyst Center directly to my workstation. And I can use a bunch of APIs to develop applications through this. We also have content available on APIs if you are interested. Also, devnet.cisco.com is a great resource as well. The response I would be expecting is error code 200 indicates success. Anything other than that, such as 400, 401, is going to be an unauthorized issue. 500s can be a server code issue. And I can also generate code previews here. So this is in Python. If I wanted to use a different language, here are the supported languages I can use. And ideally what this will do, as long as the workstation is programmed to have access, which it will require a token. We do have content on that available as well. And it requires a post call over to Catalyst Center to generate that token. But as long as you have the token embedded here, we can use the XAuth token value here, and then it'll go ahead and reach out, authenticate, and then get you the sign count for it. All right, and then I'll click try, and we can see we have I can include parameters if I choose to. In this case, I'm not going to because it's not required. I'm gonna click run, and we can see response is 14. So I have 14 sites created under the network hierarchy. And that's it for this demo. Julio, I'll go ahead and hand it back off to you.
Thanks, Casey. So let me go back here for sharing. Okay, so some key points to remember. You always need to prepare your operate at least 5 to 7 days before you're planning to perform. So you can have a really good operate. You will be familiar with all the release note, operate guides, and all the operate process at all. Will be a need to get proactive support, so plan ahead as well. Operate smoothly. Please open a tag case whenever you're planning to do that. You can call the tag line or open it by email, so you can have someone to support you during the operate just in case. So go also on the compliance check to keep your network in a good compliance checks with this tool. And then the template top, please also be familiar with these organized templates. They're simplified for use, so there will be no more template conflicts as with these operates we run on our software. You'll be able to run the multiple line automations, so you can get a lot of time, gain a lot of time during your newly the access deployments. And remember, we do have expanded API support. So here you can find a coupon that we have for you on one of our latest Catalyst Center SD1 books from Cisco Press. You can scan this or use a discount code up to February 28th. You need to buy it via Cisco Press. So I think it should be a really good add to your library. Okay, so we can go for a Q&A.
Awesome.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Thanks so much, Julio, and thanks so much, Casey, for taking us through a couple demos. As Julio just stated and showed us, have a great offer for a discount code on Cisco Press for you all. That code will also be in our post-webinar discussion thread, which I will share with you all here momentarily as well, including all the resources, and a playback for today's session will be included in that discussion thread on the Cisco Learning Network. Do want to get to a few questions here for our Q&A portion of today's event. If you do have a question for our presenters or our panelists, please submit those through the Q&A panel here on WebEx. You can also participate in today's poll questions by using the Slido panel on WebEx or the link that I've placed in the chat screen as well. So Julio or Casey, feel free to jump in on a couple of these questions. Here is the first question. If I enable deploy by default on wired devices under application QoS, at what point will this be deployed to the devices?
So go ahead, Julio.
Okay, yeah, if you enable the QoS to deploy that on your wired devices, if it's enabled, the application QoS policies will be deployed to devices at the time that you assign them to a site or do plug and play for them, right? So this site must have the QoS policies configured in order to be deployed on your devices.
Beautiful. Thank you, Julio. Let's see. Here's another question. What's the main purpose of changing the SD Access UI?
So the intention is to provide a more seamless workflow and ease and experience towards your deployment and operations in SDA. So the new UI includes much more guidance, workflows, analytics, and ensures the implementation goes as smoothly as possible. So if you're not familiar with SDA, a lot of the workflows build off each other. So if you're interested in learning more about SDA, speak with your account manager and we can get you set up there.
Perfect. Another question here, and this has kind of gone through, a couple of our attendees today have asked about upgrading Catalyst Center. One of our poll questions today asked about which version of Catalyst Center that you're running. This question says, I'm currently on Catalyst Center version 2.3.3.7 and want to upgrade to 2.3.7.6. What upgrade path do I need to take in order to accomplish this?
Thanks. So in order to go from these 2337 release to the 2376, you can review all the upgrade paths available on Cisco.com, but the path will go as follows. You first need to upgrade to 2355, and then after the Catalyst Center gets upgrade and reinitiate, you will be able to jump to the 2376 package. It will appear with you on the system software upgrade, and then you can perform again the upgrades to get into the latest release.
Beautiful. Thanks so much, Julio. We are winding down here with this event. Julio, I want to kick it right back to you real quick. Is there anything else you'd like to discuss or any last words for our attendees before we wrap up?
No, thanks. Thanks everyone for joining us. If you have any additional questions, please follow up on our Cisco community. Okay, thanks.
Casey, would like to kick it to you just to give you a moment if there's anything you'd like to touch on here before we do wrap up.
Yeah, thank you everyone for joining. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Julio, and our panelists. And everyone, if you have any questions, feel free to use the post-discussion thread, and you guys have a happy holidays.
Yes, as Casey just mentioned, just place that post webinar discussion thread in the chat screen for you. You can find all your resources as well on the Cisco Learning Network. If you have any questions for us, feel free to reach out. Let us know. We'll be happy to provide you with an answer. Want to send a thank you once again to Casey, Julio, and all of our panelists and the whole team for bringing your knowledge to the Cisco community today. If you do have an additional question for our presenters, we'll keep that Q&A window open for a couple more minutes. For even more tutorials, demonstrations, future webinars, and more, please visit the Cisco Learning Network. As mentioned, you can also follow up with any further questions, view resources from today's session, plus its recording through that post-webinar discussion post. At this time, you'll be directed to a post-event survey. Please take a couple moments in answering those questions as it helps us prepare for some future sessions. Once again, we thank everybody for joining us today, and we will see you next time on the Cisco Learning Network.
Thank you.